evening, everybody. Kevin J. Johnston here. This is the Real Estate and Money Show that runs absolutely every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. If you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe, please share. If you're watching on Kick over here, if you're watching on TikTok, please share, like, get it out there. If you're watching on X, please follow. Now we're so happy to see so many new people coming to us from X, and thank you, Elon Musk, for letting us back onto X. I mean, you got to remember Jack Dorsey, when he was running Twitter, they took down over 20, maybe even 25 of my Twitter accounts. Elon gave me back at least 9. So welcome from Twitter. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. I am Canada's biggest mouth. I have been podcasting full-time for 8 years, and for the last year straight, full-time, 14 to 18 hours a day, I'm helping Canadians and Americans beat all of their tax problems. I'm helping everybody who is looking for a better life move here to Panama. I am in the capital city of the country of Panama. It's a remarkable place, remarkable town. Banking is a massive industry down here. There's 52 major banks and 3 small ones. I can get anybody to get their money moved to Panama where it is safe. I love it here, but I'm so eternally grateful for all of you for showing up tonight, because we've got a few things to talk about. Namely, tonight's show is called Canada is Dead and Move On. Now, what do I mean by that? All right, everyone, as you know, I'm Canadian born. I was born in Toronto, raised right next door in the city of Mississauga. I left the country for 4 years in my 20s to go to the United States, made some pretty good money there, went back to Canada, made no money for a very long time, making killer money here in Panama, because that's what free market enterprise will do with people, or for people that have drive and ambition. They will let you grow. This country allows you to make money and just gets out of your way and doesn't even tax you. So I don't pay taxes here in Panama as a tax resident, because I'd say a good 95% of what I make is made outside of the country. And in Panama here, everybody wants to make a deal. Everybody, even the street vendors, want to make a deal. If you want to do a deal, an investment deal with bankers down here, just come on down, walk in the bank, make a deal. If you want to make a deal with lawyers here, walk in the lawyer's office, make a deal. Everybody here wants to make money. Panama wants to be a G20 country. Canada, I don't think, does want to be a G20 country. I think Canada, the leadership of it and the upper echelon, want to be like a G200 country. You know what I mean? There's not even 200 countries in the world. They want to be absolutely last place, it would seem. And for those who are making the statements that they live in Canada and they work full time and they don't have any money, that's mostly not your fault. That is the end result of left-wing policy. Left-wing politics have destroyed absolutely everything that was good about the country. So if you want to know why Canada is no longer a good place to do business, well, I'm going to cover some topics. And I'm going to do some comparisons to where I've been: Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, and other places around the world. And I'll tell you why everybody else around the world is better, and also better than Democrat states in the U.S. So let's cover it. When your country has pride in its nationality, when your country has pride in its imagery, its iconography, its flag, its traditions, it'll do well. And whenever there is a thriving economic time, a nationalistic country that protects its own culture will thrive during those times. Let me give you an example. Here in Panama, they love their flag so much that there's actually a national holiday called Flag Day. Literally, it's called Flag Day, not Pride Flag Day, Flag Day, where the city is full of people partying it up. And for the entire month of November, the Panamanian flag is on every single building that you can see. And Canada used to do that. When the new Canadian flag was presented to the public in February of 1964, it's a beautiful design, but it was not defined. And even though the Canadian government did not define what this flag means, people were still very proud to fly it. I'm not anymore at all, because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't stand for anything. There's no nationalism that you can attribute to it. There's no brand. A red maple leaf in the middle of a white square in between half of 2 red squares means what when the country's in turmoil, when the best of its citizens are leaving on a daily basis. It actually means positively nothing. So Canada has failed because we have spent all of our time allowing left-wing politics to dictate stupid terms to all of us that have ruined our national identity. So when the left-wingers came out and said, white man bad, white man's destroyed the red man, white man destroyed everything, the black man in Africa, they destroyed everything. That's the propaganda in the schools. So what happens here is national pride begins to tick down. Then we have all kinds of bad groups of people who will look at a statue of Sir John A. Macdonald, the man who built the railroad across the country, the first prime minister of Canada, who did amazing things. The guy built a country from a forest. He built a country that's like 6 time zones wide, never mind. So you've got people then saying he's bad because he did stuff. Okay, what did he do? You weren't there. I wasn't there in the 1800s. You weren't there in the 1800s. What are all of you talking about? This is the big problem with left-wing politics, that they now say that every single person that we salute for having some kind of a contribution to the building of a nation is now bad, because you're trying to hold them to the standard, the moral and ethical standards of today. They didn't have that luxury back in the day. The whole world was savage back then, including Europe. So they didn't have a choice but to be rough and tumble and sometimes cruel. That was their era. This is our era. So when you have statues being taken down, being pelted with eggs, spray painted, shattered, whatever it might be, how could you possibly have pride in your nation? And then when you make the statement as leaders that you're no longer, literally our government said, we're no longer going to bring white people into Canada. We're going to stop all immigration from Europe, and we're going to go to third world countries and bring in the least skilled individuals. And you do that from 1994 to 2024, what exactly did you think was going to happen? So 11 to 12 million people have come into Canada with absolutely no skills whatsoever, no language capacities, no desire to be part of the culture, and that has absolutely destroyed anybody's desire to do business in Canada. Our government says that for some reason we need to go to green energies. They don't work. Solar is okay, but solar is good to power your house, not the city. Wind power is junk. If you've got a couple of windmills on your roof to power your house, sure, great. But these massive windmills they're putting so much time, money, and energy into are in no way helping the power grid. They are terribly expensive to build. You got to think about all the diesel fuel that you're burning to pour the concrete to hold them in place when you mount them in the ground. And then the 20 years of maintenance you got to do on them. And then the year number 21, they're now useless, and you can't even recycle them because of the way they're built. So you'll see that there's a lot of landfill sites that dig these long trenches and just bury these windmill arms after they are done. We're told that we need to do this to save the world. Doesn't save the world. You never recoup your money on them, and you never recoup the power or the resources that go into them. But it's part of the energy policy of the country, which means that now you're buying gas at twice the price it was 10 years ago. That means you can't move goods and products and services and people across the country as efficiently as you once did, which means your economy is going to drop, which it has. So also Canadian oil production right now is at about 5% of what it should be, what it could be. That is why you need to pick up and go. There are no jobs, and there's no new jobs being created. Even now that Donald Trump has won, it doesn't mean that there will be new jobs created in Canada. In fact, Trump hates Trudeau, Trump hates left-wing politics, and Trump knows that Canada is nothing but left-wing ideologues running the country. It's all left-wing policy. Trump will put tariffs on everything Canadian, and that will signify the end of whatever is left of the Canadian economy. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He had to put up with Trudeau's nonsense for 4 years. And he had to put up with left-wing ideology coming out of Canada for 4 years. Why would he not want to put tariffs on everything Canadian? I mean, I would. If I were him, That's exactly what I would do. So you can count on the States, once Trump takes power in January, to start to punish Canada fiscally. It's going to happen, and there won't be anything that we the people can do about it, aside from decide if you want to stay in Canada and be broke, or move to the United States and get rich, or move to Panama here and get rich. Whatever it might be, you're not going to get wealthy in Canada when the entire country has done its very best to destroy itself. And now Trump is going to assist in that. And because, well, he should. Trump is not the president of Canada. He's the president of the United States. He's not the president of the world. He's the president of the United States. So please don't expect the Canadian economy to get better because the American economy is getting better. It's just not how it works. It actually is quite delusional thinking. And I would encourage all of you to understand the fact that when Canada, or a country, does what Canada has done to completely annihilate its own economy over the course of a decade straight, it can't recover for at least 50 years. So while you're watching this, I'm just wondering if you could maybe ask yourselves the questions. Do you see any hope for Canada's economy? Let's not talk about it as a country, but do you have any hope at all that Canada's going to recover financially? And if you can say yes, then maybe you should write down what the economic plan is that you would think that it would abide by in order to do so. And I'm telling you that it won't. So what you all have to start to do is start to analyze a few things. Ask yourselves some very important questions. How much money do I make right off the hop? Next, how much tax do I pay? In Canada, you're paying income tax to the federal government. You're paying the provincial income tax to the province that you live in. You're paying Canada Pension Plan, which will be empty before 2032, I might add, which means you're never going to get it back. And you're paying employment insurance that they're never going to give you. Even if you lose your job, you're not going to get it. So that's 4 deductions right off the bat. But then there's the goods and services tax, which could be as high as 13%, depending on which province you're in. So you get a haircut, you're paying 13% on that. You buy a car, you're paying 13% on that. You hire a lawyer to do something for you. That's not even a tangible thing. You're paying 13% on that. Then you're paying gas tax. And if you look at the way that taxes are done on gasoline in Canada, it's well over 75% of every liter of fuel. The price is tax. For what purpose? If you're in the province of Ontario and you buy a used car, you got to pay tax on that. Every time the same car gets sold as a used car, you got to pay tax on it. But then there's hotel tax now all over the country, entertainment tax now all over the country. It's just, it doesn't end. So in some cases in Canada, you're paying up to 73% of your earnings in tax. Can you pay all your bills when you're losing 73% of your salary? And the answer for most of you is no, you can't. Considering the fact that right now in Toronto, people are renting out the other half of their bed. You're sharing a bedroom with a stranger and you're paying $400 for that. I mean, how awkward would that be if you're a guy my age and some guy who's 20 is renting out half of his bed for you? Wow. No, thank you. So I made the decision. I said to myself a year ago, there's no way I'll ever make money in Canada. My skill set is remarkable, but so long as I'm inside of Canada, I'm not going to be able to use it. Because in Canada, there's no freedom of speech. It's a communist country that will put you in prison for offending people, especially with Bill C-63, where they're going to put you in prison for life if you offend the radical left on Twitter or on Facebook or on Kick or anywhere else. So you're being taxed to death, you can't speak your mind, and the left wing runs every branch of government: federal, provincial, municipal, the courts, and administrative. It's all left wing. So how would a conservative dude, how would a conservative Christian or a conservative Hindu or a conservative Buddhist get a job in a far left wing country that does not even allow that to happen. And not only that, but you've got a far left-wing country where the local governments are paying Antifa types to burn Catholic and Christian and Anglican churches. The government's doing this, of Canada, which means the Canadian government's going out of its way to burn what's left of Western culture within the country, which means there will not be a Western-style economy in the country because anybody who's Christian is picking up and going to actual Christian countries, Southern United States, Mexico, Panama, definitely Colombia. So there's nothing that you're going to be able to achieve in Canada if you're going to be staying there. The government of Canada went out of its way to destroy it. So I think from here on in, I'd like to ask every single one of you watching this show to go back and listen to some of the things that Justin Trudeau said. All right. When he first took office, first thing out of his mouth, he goes on Fox News and says, Canada will become the world's first post-national state. When your leader comes out and says something like that on Fox News, did Canadians just not understand what that meant? It meant, I'm going to destroy the country. It won't be a country when I'm done. He said that. He admitted it to you, to all of you. Then Trudeau came out and said that I believe that all people convicted of terror crimes around the world should be allowed to keep their Canadian citizenship because I believe that. And I'm willing to take on anyone who challenges that. That's what he said. Incredible. So your leader told you that he was going to destroy the country. Your leader told you that he was going to ruin it with unfettered immigration. And then he said that all terrorists get to keep their Canadian citizenship, which meant now the Canadian passport is worth nothing. It's not respected around the world anymore. I've been in Panama for almost 8 months. I do business with a lot of banks down here. They think Canada's a joke. They don't do business with Canadian banks. None of the 52 banks here in Panama deal with Canadian banks because Canadian banks won't do business with international banks at all. So how do you succeed in Canada? How could you possibly be someone that has a multinational corporation when your banks won't transfer money to another country so you can do business? Or your bank in Canada won't take money from the other countries you're doing business in? Why? To what avail are the banks doing this? Also in Canada, if you are caught publicly disagreeing with the left wing and the alphabet people's ideology, what happens? They debank you. Royal Bank right now is going through all of its files, looking for people who disagree with left-wing ideologies, and they are shutting down their bank accounts. I felt really horrible for the woman. She's 75 years old. When she would log into her online banking portal on Royal Bank, she was tired of seeing the pride flag there. She asked them, please take it off. She didn't want to see it. Shut down her bank account. That's right, shut it down. I don't know how it is that we allowed all this to happen, but I'm telling you, it's going to keep getting worse. It's not getting better. Don't think that because Trump's in office that Canada is going to stop being left-wing. Canada will ramp it up. Trudeau will ramp it up. The left-wingers who run the courts will ramp it up. The left-wing police forces are going to ramp it all up. They're going to go for broke. They're not doubling down. They're quadrupling down. So you can expect a lot of arrests of Canadians who disagree with that ideology. You can expect people to lose their bank accounts left, right, and center. You can expect your credit cards to just not work anymore if you disagree with left-wing ideology. Solution. I can help you move your money to the United States. We'll get you a bank account opened up. I've got a law firm that'll just walk into a bank, open the account for you. Congratulations, you've got a bank account in the United States. And then from there, I'll get you a bank account down here in Panama, and we can transfer your US dollars from the United States here to Panama. It's safe. So many people out there, they honestly talk out of their butts is what they do. Everybody wants that 15 minutes of fame. So I hear stupid stuff all the time. Well, Panama's got a treaty with Canada to cooperate with the Canada Revenue Agency and we'll give your money away. No, they don't. Where are you getting that from? I work with the banks down here. They don't. The federal government of Panama issues the charter They charter the banks down here. But once the bank is chartered, they're autonomous. The government can't walk in there and say, oh, shut this guy's bank account down. The banks won't do it. There is no way for a Canadian court order in any province to have any weight here in Panama or in the United States. The Canadian courts are a joke, and the rest of the world knows it. So put your money in the United States, put your money here in Panama. Even Grenada and the United Arab Emirates are good places to put your money. And I'll be going to all these countries and learning their banking systems as well. And there's no country in the world that's going to cooperate with Canada and give your money to the Canada Revenue Agency. And the other thing is, why in the hell would you tell the Canada Revenue Agency that you have money in a foreign country? If your accountant tells you to report that, fire the accountant, hire me. I'm not going to tell the CRA that. It's none of their business. I'll answer some questions now. So we've got, oh, thank you, Lori, for that. I appreciate the gift. Thank you very, very much. All right. Calfee is asking, is there an exit tax in Canada? No, that's on the table. They don't have time to make that law between now and the next federal election. So there's no exit tax. And you don't have to tell anybody you're leaving. If you're leaving Canada permanently, you don't have to tell anyone. Don't tell people anything. Don't tell anybody your business. Just go. That's it. Just go. All right. Having a look here at some of your questions. Kelly says, I'm going to contact you for this. Yeah. For everybody who knows my website address, could you put it in the chat room, please? If you're on Rumble, obviously you can see it right there. If you're on Kick, same thing. My name, kevinjjohnston.com. My name, again, kevinjjohnston.com. Hit the contact form, please. Let me know who you are, and we'll set up our chat and fix your tax problems. With Trump in charge, American money is going to be worth nothing. I will respectfully disagree. With Trump in charge, the American dollar will stay stable, pretty close to where it is today. It's going to be fine. You got to remember, there's a lot of countries out there that use the US dollar. Panama's one of them. And Panama's got the canal making between $4 and $40 million every hour. And it's all US dollars. Don't think for a second that the rest of the world is as eager as the media says to get rid of the US dollar. I know it's a fiat currency, but everybody wants it. They really do. And there's other countries around the world, like the cultures are different. If I was to go to a Canadian and say, hey, I want to buy your house and I'm going to give you all your payment in gold bars, a Canadian would probably do the deal because they understand the value of gold is going to be higher within just a couple of short days than the actual cash that you would get. But in Panama, they don't see it that way. They see the value in cash, in American dollars. The Costa Ricans are the same way. The Mexicans, they're not eager to get US dollars so much. They like the peso, but they'll still take it. So people will not take gold and silver as payment in Panama. They'll take your US cash, which means you have a lot of negotiation power when you've got a briefcase full of cash with you. No, American dollar is going to be fine. Oh, and someone says, nice haircut. Oh, and in Panama, this haircut was done in a shanty that was built by a guy. He just found a piece of land underneath a highway, literally underneath the highway. He ran wires to it, don't know how, because he has lights, ran a pipe to it, don't know how. He's got a sink, and I'm getting my hair cut literally with only 2 feet of sidewalk in front of me and a major road right there. And this is a very common thing. Panamanian men love to get their hair cut a lot. There's barber shops everywhere. This haircut cost $5. And I gave the guy a $2 tip, and he was ecstatic because nobody tips here. So there we go. Yeah, having a bank account in the States, just go to my website and get a hold of me. Is it hard for people under 50 to move to Panama? Nope. Get on a plane. You can stay for 6 months if you have an airline reservation showing that you're leaving within 6 months, and they'll stamp your passport. If you need an airline reservation, let me know. I can get you those for $95 US. Hang on to it's not a ticket, it's just a reservation, but it shows that you are leaving the country. Boom, they stamp you for 6 months. You can stay for the full 6 months, and you can even overstay if you want to. If you overstay in Panama, you just have to go to the immigration office, pay a $50 fine for each month that you've stayed over your time, and then you can fly out of the country. It's really that simple. You can get yourself a condominium down here cheap. You can buy, there's apartments for sale. They're not the best, but there's apartments for sale for $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 down here. So if you're looking to live on a budget, you can certainly do so in Panama. And there are areas in the capital city of Panama where the restaurants, you can eat like a massive meal for $3 or $4 and be full for the vast majority of the day. There's all kinds of ways to live a really good life in other countries. All right, Welder Troll says, I'm coming to Panama. Come on down, man. We'll get some fish and pizza, possibly fish on pizza. They really do pizza fish or fish covered pizza well down here. You're from Canada. Is it better to go to the United States to retire? Oh, I would. Oh, absolutely, I would. Places like Montana, Idaho, anybody in Oregon who's east of the Rocky Mountains, those are all dynamite places. Cheap, good, wholesome, conservative Christian Americans. Yeah, you could do quite well there. Quite well. I would never retire in Canada. Kelly's asking, but you can't work. Well, you can't find a job where Panamanians are hiring you unless you want to make $2, $3, $4 an hour. But this is the place where you come to get wealthy. So if you have a skill set that you can sell to the Panamanians or to tourists or to the gringos who live in town, you'll do quite well. You know, somebody was asking me today, are there any gluten-free bakeries in Panama? I thought, you know, there is one, and they're right downtown, right by Trump Tower, really expensive. But I'm thinking if you were to distribute them into the middle-class neighborhoods, the gringos would absolutely buy that kind of thing. Yeah, you could make a ton of money selling that kind of thing here. Baked goods are huge in Panama. If you have something that's different or better and it's in demand, you'll sell lots. It'll be all in US dollars. And you're a foreigner, so your tax bill will be considerably lower. Are you able to become a permanent resident in Panama? Yes, Marie, very quickly, in fact. You can become a pensionado. So if you've got a pension or you have a private pension, even a private pension that you set up on your own, you can become a pensionado within 6 weeks, and you get a discount card for 25% off the vast majority of what you're going to buy. So it's really, it's really good. It's really good. Jose Ventura says, many places gluten-free. Okay, Jose, I've only found one. Tell me where they are, and I'm going to go look at each and every one of them. I want to know where they are. I walk a lot in Panama. I do 10 kilometers a day. I take 2 hours every day, and I walk around Panama City to learn everything I can about it. I see a lot of bakeries. You tell me where they are, brother, and tell you what, you tell me where they are, and I'm buying the cookies, okay? That's a promise. And in fact, I just said it publicly. So, Jose, head over to my website and contact me. All right? It's a deal. Could I work my trade in Panama? Yeah, Chad, there's a lot of trades that you could do down here. I mean, something that Panama needs are underwater welders or high-end welders in general to work on the ships in the canal. That's one thing that I know about. There's a place in the north end of the country. I'm actually going to go check it out tomorrow because they want to get some marketing done. It's a school to learn how to scuba dive and weld underwater at depths of less than 40 feet. Because anything more than that, it's kind of crazy. You don't want to be doing that because you're living in a diving bell. So yeah, there's all kinds of opportunities for trades. Panamanians, they do concrete very well. They do floors perfectly. But Jose, you may not like this comment. They do not do cabinetry very well. So if you wanted to sell kitchens or build custom kitchens for gringos, you would do very well with that. Absolutely very well. All right, Jose, I'm serious. You get a hold of me, brother. All right. And for those who are sending me messages on my website, I do appreciate that. I can see Kamovi, MK, you sent me one. I will address that right after the show. So everybody, my deepest concern about Canadians, all right? I used to be a hardcore patriot in Canada when I was growing up, because in the 1980s, 1970s, 1980s, The Toronto area, the whole of Southern Ontario between Niagara Falls and the capital city in Ottawa was amazing. Every opportunity you could ever want was there. Canadians were considerably more business-minded back then. And the economy was very different. I remember in my teen years, being 18, I worked at a grocery store. I'm sure you all remember it, Sheridan Mall. It was called Food Emporium. I worked there for 2.5 years. I was making $18.50 an hour cutting vegetables. And then I would go out with my friends to any restaurant where, after working for $18.50 an hour, I could buy an entree in a restaurant with a beverage for $5. Movies were, remember that, guys? $4. Remember $4 movies? Gas was 42 cents a liter back then. You could make a lot of money, save a lot of money, spend very little, and live an incredible life. And Canada will never be that way again. I wish you all could have seen it when I was growing up in the same era. It's never going to be like that. So now, when in the 1980s, when I was making that kind of money cutting vegetables, and I was making an additional $2,000 to $5,000 a week DJing on the tips, I'm kicking myself in the ass for not understanding real estate when I was 18, 19 years of age, because I could have bought a house back then. A big 4-bedroom house back then was only $80,000. That same house now in Toronto would be $2 million. So you got to factor in that at $2 million, where people are making minimum wage, less by $3 an hour than I was making in 1988. And the houses are $2 to $2.5 million. Sick. Whereas when I was making $18.50 an hour, I was kind of spending it on stupid stuff. I could have bought a house. I didn't. Here I am in Panama. Nonetheless, live and learn, as they say. Alrighty. For Ride's dad and for Kimmy, if you guys want to get a hold of me, if you need help with Canada Revenue Agency, shoot over to my website, kevinjjohnston.myname.com. Kent, I know you're watching. Can you just type it in for everybody, please? Get a hold of me on the website. I know a lot of you send me private messages on TikTok. I just can't get to them. I can't get to them. I'm already at 18 hours a day, and I've just hired 2 ladies. And, oh, my God, we still can't get through it all. So please contact me direct. All business has to be done through my website so that I can see it a whole lot faster. All right. So for those who are in Canada, I've got some info. Tonight, I just want to say, get out of the country if you can, but do it smart. If you own a house and the house is paid off, it's not the best idea to just sell it and run. It's a much better idea for you to hang on to it, rent it out, and take the income and transfer the income to the United States or Panama or anywhere else in the world. You don't make money selling property, you make money holding on to it. Of course, you're making money on the rent and the appreciation value of the property as time goes on. Sorry for yawning, guys. I got up this morning at 4:30. I am burned out. But you do that. If you don't have a house and you're looking for a better life, then you might want to consider liquidating everything you have and getting your money into the United States, or getting your money here and just leaving Canada. Let the country crash. Within 10 years, it's going to crash. It is going to crash hard. So even though it might still look good in some places, believe me, it's not good in almost any place. Get out. And I'm saying this because not only do you have to contest with the left-wing ideology, but it has become a police state. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they have infinite funding, which is really ridiculous. They, just like the police in the United Kingdom right now, they are policing people's Twitter accounts, or X. They are policing people's social media. They're knocking on the doors of Canadians saying, you have to watch what you say. We're watching you. Don't you dare insult someone. We're an absolute waste of resources. But that's what these creatures are doing. And they're doing it because Justin Trudeau and the left wing are telling them to enforce left-wing ideology. I don't know if you've been watching the videos online where you see the RCMP doing this, or you see the police in the United Kingdom going to people's houses and putting on that fake, polite charade, telling you, oh, well, you're under arrest for abuse of the interconnected ways online. you're being arrested. There are over 1,000 political prisoners in the United Kingdom right now. There's over 300 in Canada right now, just for disagreeing with the government or saying something even funny online. It's sad. Why would you want to be in a country like that? I also had to point out that Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, the big investment guy in Canada, doesn't live in Canada. He came out and said that with Trump in office, there's going to be all kinds of fantastic investment opportunities in Canada. He's wrong. There won't be. The only thing that Kevin O'Leary could invest in Canada right now and make money is oil. That would be it. But he's going to have to petition the government to allow oil production to climb to 20% from 5%. They won't do it. Not while Trudeau is in office. If Pierre Poilievre gets in next year, maybe 20. So if you are planning to invest in Canada, the only investment that is sound for you, the only investments plural that are sound for Canadians would be property if you can afford it, not a condo. Do not buy condominiums in Canada. House with land. Do that. If you can't afford that, gold and silver. But you got to be careful on how much that you buy, because if you're planning on leaving the country, you have to think about how you're going to transport it. That's the other thing. So if you're not staying in Canada, where you've got somewhere safe to store all of your gold and silver, then you can't really invest in that. So the next investment opportunity would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, but none of that has anything to do with the Canadian economy at all. That's just blockchain currencies that you're able to buy and make money on. So that is the problem, Canada, is that there's truly nothing to invest in with any kind of high returns. Oh yes, don't forget this one. When I met with the mayor of Panama City, I made a presentation. I showed him what the bank rates are for the Toronto Dominion Bank. 0.01% interest on your money that's in your bank account with them. And he was floored, because some of the banks in Panama pay as high as 12% if you're willing to lock down $1 million at a time. Imagine making $120,000 a year US just by leaving your money in the bank. If you did that in Canada, what's that? That's $1,000 a year, I think you would get if you put $1 million in a Canadian bank. So when I showed this to the mayor, he was disgusted. He laughed. And then through a translator, he said, Daniel, now I know why you're in my city. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's not the only reason, but certainly. Can you book a Zoom call? Yes, you absolutely can book a Zoom call. Just head over to my website, everybody, which is kevinjjohnston.com, and you can book your call there. I'll gladly talk to you about your tax problems. The Canada Revenue Agency has become excessively hyper aggressive because they have a mandate to collect as much money as they possibly can. Yeah, so understand that the vast majority of you are getting a lot of letters now where they're saying that you owe ridiculous amounts of money, but they can't prove it. It's called an assessment. So when the Canada Revenue Agency sends you out an assessment, it's a guess. It's a wild guess. Contact me. What we'll do immediately is we will appeal their decision, which stops the tax debt from even existing. You'll get a court date about 18 months to 2 years later, and I'll argue that one in court, but then we have 2 years to fix your taxes. I'll fix them up in a couple of weeks, but you understand where I'm going with this. We want to appeal everything. Now, someone's asked me a question here. Do you think that merchants can cancel the goods and services tax in Canada for 2 months in the stores? So what that is about, everybody, is there's a 5% federal tax on everything in Canada. Yes, Randy, e-transfers are no problem whatsoever. Just hit me on my website and I'll get you all that contact info. Thank you. So the goods and services tax is a 5% federal tax, and then most of the provinces will also have their own tax on top of it. So in the province of Ontario, which holds the city of Toronto, it's 13% in total. So what he's saying is that he's going to cut 5% off of grocery bills for December. But it's not a law. He's just suggesting it, which means that retailers out there who have to reprogram all of their cash registers and reprogram all of their software, they're not going to cooperate. I wouldn't cooperate. Why would they? The second that someone tells me that I have to work for free, I'm not doing it. I've had this told to me many times by the Canadian government that I've got to work for free. I've got to abide by this court order for free because some guy in a dress says so. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not. So no, retailers are not obligated to do so. And the vast majority are not going to do so. So what he said was he'll cut the GST for families because he wants votes. There we go. Well, Marlou, not all groceries are tax-free. So you got to remember, anything that's prepared food is not tax-free. Snacks are not tax-free. Beverages that come in a can or a bottle are not tax-free. There's a lot of things that are just not tax-free, unfortunately. So with him making the statement that the GST is being removed, you do make a good point, Marlou, that it's kind of a scam. It is a scam because a lot of what's in the grocery store is not taxed, but everything that is taxed, they're still not going to take the tax off it. And anything that you would buy in a convenience store is absolutely taxed the full amount because it's all considered luxury items. It was absolutely taxed. I don't believe for an instant that the toy stores in Canada are going to stop charging that 5% GST. Again, why would they? They're not obligated to do so. If the government wants you to do something, they have to get a court order to make you do it. Or they have to compensate you for your time. They got to pay you. And I've been telling a lot of representatives, for example, from the Canada Revenue Agency, when they make demands of people to send in surveys or send in information, I contact the CRA and tell them, no problem, my client's fully willing to cooperate if you're willing to compensate him for his time. My client's time is worth $300 per hour, mine's worth $500 per hour. And if you're not willing to pay them, then you're not going to get what you want, right? You're not obligated to do anything the CRA says. Just don't do what they say. Contact me, hire me as your agent, and I'll get rid of that particular officer. I am very infamous. Everybody who works for the CRA knows exactly who I am, and they know that when they're talking to me, they've got to be very careful what they say because I will hold it against them and, if necessary, file criminal charges. All right? And oh wow, Cass, you pay 15% GST in Newfoundland? That's crazy. It's not even like Newfoundland has any jobs. The Canadian government shut down the fishing industry. Like, what would somebody do in Newfoundland for money? It's an island that has fishing and I think logging as industries, but nothing else. By God, I am sorry to hear that. I didn't know it was 15%. So that's horrible. But I'm not surprised. I'm disgusted, but I'm not surprised. All right. Yeah, and Newfoundland, I actually think Newfoundland made a very big mistake joining Canada in the 60s. I think they should have stayed as an independent country. I actually still have a whole bunch of Newfoundland money back in Canada. It's safe, and I'm thinking one day I might have to auction that off. It might be worth something. You never know. All righty. So we got 10 minutes left in our show here, folks. I'll field any questions that everybody has. Thank you, Marie. I do appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Let me just check the Rumble room first here, everyone. Okay. All right. Are they putting mRNA COVID vaccine in your food? Well, I don't have any evidence to support that, but I do know that they've been modifying a whole ton of foods out there. And what I can tell you is this. The food in Panama is remarkable. It is absolutely free. Sweet stuff. Don't send me messages on TikTok. Go to my website, please. Don't send on TikTok. Please go to my website. It's so much faster for me to get to it. I appreciate that. Here's what you could all do. Go to freedomreport.ca and look at my videos from October of last year and look at my skin and look at my face and even look at my hair. And then look at me today and compare and look how healthy I am today eating Panamanian food than I was a year ago eating Canadian food. I'm telling you, food is just so much better here. No, Randy, my site takes credit cards. Randy, just hit me in the email on my form on my website. I will get right back to you tonight, right after the show. Don't worry about that. Marie's asking, Kevin, are you able to stop the government from taking taxes off my pay? Yes, that is called garnishment. Good question. Let me explain something to everybody in Canada right now. The Canada Revenue Agency, when they want to steal money from you, they rely solely on Section 317 of the Excise Tax Act. Section 317 gives them permission to threaten you, but that's it. They don't have any authority beyond that. What they'll do is they'll write a letter to your bank. It's called a requirement to pay, which is not a legal or lawful order, I might add. It's not a court order. The banks don't have to give your money to the CRA, but the banks choose to. It's a choice. Your employer is not obligated to take money off your paycheck. Your employer is a coward and just does it anyway because, oh, I don't want trouble. I don't want to get audited. And if you do get audited, you hire me and I get rid of the auditor. You never cooperate with an auditor, ever. I get rid of them all the time. And I use the appropriate legalese to do so. And we use no trespassing notices to them, meaning they're blocked from coming to your house and your office forever. So Marie, all I have to do to get rid of that garnishment is I redo your taxes properly for the last 10 years. I probably can get you back about 75% of what you've paid over the last 10 years because I do your taxes properly. I don't do them like accountants do in Canada, who are all afraid of the CRA. Cowards. Never hire a coward. In Canada, ask accountants 2 questions. Number 1, if I get audited, will you cooperate with the auditor? If they say yes, get rid of them. They're a coward. They work for the CRA, not you. And then ask them, does the CRA have the power to take away your license? If they say yes, get rid of them. They're a coward. The CRA has no such power, period. You cannot deal with cowards, ever. Can you travel with gold and silver? Yes. And I'll have an answer for you how to get it into Panama in 2 weeks. I've got a meeting with a gold and silver expert down here. We're going to get that done for you. All right. So yes. So you sent me an email. You got no response. I'm in my email box right now, sweet stuff. So if you use the form on my website, please, right now, kevinjjohnston.com, it'll pop up right here in front of me. Please do that now. Okay. Yeah, banks will do what the government says. But what you can do with the banks is you can send forward a notice of liability. So it's a letter that you give preemptively to your bank manager saying, and notarize it so it's official, telling them that you do not authorize them to give money to anybody, and that includes the CRA. And if you do so, you're going to issue a fine of $1 million to them, and just serve it. You know, they don't have any way to counter that. And if they do take your money, hit them with the lawsuit because you've already got the notice of liability in there. Kevin, I'm in an emergency situation. I've been trying to get a hold of you. I need your SOS. Michelle, please go to my website right now. In fact, my assistant, Christine, is in the email box right now waiting for you. kevinjjohnston.com. Use the contact form. It's in the top right corner of the website. And I will get back to you tonight. Anybody who emails me today, in the next hour, I'm going to reply to you within that hour's time. All right, because I want to help as many people as I possibly can. Yeah, so my website, my name, kevinjjohnston.com. There we are. So please hit me up there. Kent, I know you're watching. Please put the website address in the chat for me. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you. All right, 5 minutes to go here. We'll take one last question here. Contact form gives out too much info. Randy, you got a pen? I'll give you my public email address right now. It's freedomreport.ca@gmail.com. freedomreport.ca@gmail.com. What is it that I do, Jazz? I am a tax expert. I've been studying tax law in Canada for 40 years. I've actually also begun studying tax law in the United States. And as it stands right now, if you have a corporation in the United States with IRS debt, I can completely wipe it out within 5 days. And the same thing for anybody in Canada. I can wipe out corporate debt 100% legally. It's all legal. I've been studying this stuff long enough to understand how the law works. The Canada Revenue Agency has no authority in Canada of any kind. The IRS, it's up for debate what they have in the way of authority, but we do know that they are crazy. And the IRS does carry guns. The CRA, they carry nothing because they have nothing. Hey, Hal, great to see you again, sweetheart. Thanks for coming in. Certainly do appreciate that. All right. So Jazz, you're in the UK. United Kingdom law Canadian law is based off of the United Kingdom law. You know that. So maybe there are some similarities. All right, Marie Thomas, everybody ready? Get your pens out. My public email address, freedomreport.ca@gmail.com. And there you go. So that way, if you don't want to use the contact form on my website, you can simply just email me directly. Please give me your name, phone numbers help, and give me the briefest, shortest synopsis of your tax problem. And we will address them as quickly as we can. So like I said, for the next hour, I will be answering emails to anybody who emails me tonight, and we can start you down the pathway of getting your tax problem solved. Putting your money where it belongs, and that's back in your pocket. And for those who are curious, my name is Kevin J. Johnston. I'm a Canadian citizen. I live in Panama now. I have had an absolute blast. Did I just get kicked off? No, I'm good. I've had an absolute blast living here in Panama. I bought property in Panama. I do banking here in Panama. I work with some of the government here in Panama. I work with lawyers. The country is just amazing. Panama is amazing. There's $100 bills stapled to every front door. There's money everywhere. And I'm so excited to have Canadians coming down here. I have clients that have been coming down almost every week now. So I'll spend a day or two here and there and show them some of the city. Okay. Sweet stuff. Let me just check here. I got Furbank. You sent me something. And let me just check the Gmail account right now for you. Welder Troll, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Greatly appreciate you being here. And sweet stuff. I don't specifically have an email called Sweet Stuff, but was that you? You're the one that hit me up there? That's good. So then, all right. I'll talk to you about that right after this. Okay, thank you, Sweet Stuff. Certainly do appreciate that. Yeah, my name is Kevin J. Johnston. I've been podcasting full-time for 8 years. The Canadian government hates my guts because I've exposed a lot of them. I'm the guy that cost Justin Trudeau $100 million back in 2017. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police broke my ribs for that, and that is okay. I am so proud of what I've done. I've studied criminal law in Canada, tax law in Canada, and civil law in Canada. And I realize that Canada is so cooked that if I want to make money and be successful, I cannot be in Canada. And I'm not going to be in Canada, but I will continue to help Canadians and Americans with all their tax problems. So please do get a hold of me. It is such a joy and such a pleasure to help everybody that I possibly can. I really do love putting money back in your pocket. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Real Estate and Money Show, which is every single Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. We'll see you next week. Have a great night.